our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the sports show with no name. I'm your host. I'm Chad Bryan. I've got Ben Bales with me as always. Ben, how you doing today, buddy?
Good.
Oh, good, good. Hey, we just wanted to take a moment here at the top of the show, just to obviously a little bit different of a beginning this week. We're going to take a moment to recognize that, 23 years ago on this date, 2,977 people woke up and started going about their normal daily routines. They boarded airplanes. They clocked into office jobs in the surreal setting of Lower Manhattan in New York City, right? Checked into jobs at fire departments and police departments all over the city. Um, and even, settled down at their desk at what you would assume to be one of the safest places in America to work, the Pentagon, right? Uh, Only to soon become victims of, I don't know, the largest and deadliest terror attack ever carried out on American soil. It literally changed life as we know it. And I know, Ben, you were very young at the time, but it really it felt like that was a huge turning point. I was about your age when this happened. And
I
it
wasn't
felt
even I wasn't even born yet.
yeah, it was a huge turning point. But we just want to make sure that just we want to make sure that we remember the heroes that gave their lives and just we remember them by memorials at the sites of the incidents, and we continue to talk about them. We continue to talk about the day. We obviously don't want to forget that it happened. I know sometimes you maybe don't want to think about it, but we do want to take the time to remember the almost 3,000 people that paid the ultimate price that day, and just make sure we honor their memory by never forgetting that sacrifice. Um, yeah, Ben. Yeah, you were really, really young. How old were you when
I wasn't born.
you weren't even born? You just said that.
No. Yep.
Yeah, man. I was about, I was, what was I? I was 22 years old. I just turned 22 a couple of months before.
Yep.
And I can remember the morning I worked late the night before. I was in bed still, and my roommate, I lived in the downstairs apartment of our place, and he was like knocking on the door. He opened the door. He's like, "Hey, man, we're under attack." And they were doing road construction at the end of our street, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I hear that, And he's like, "No, like the country's under attack, man. Get up here." I was like, "What?" He was always trying to have some fun. I thought he was playing a prank on me, but obviously I
Yeah.
walked upstairs and found out that it was, deadly serious right away. Um,
Yeah.
just an awful memory of this the morning of, like I said, you just felt life changing. You knew at that moment nothing was ever going to be the same.
Nope.
Yeah, and
I mean, I don't know if you ever been to the memorial in Pennsylvania
I have
of the
not.
one plane that crashed.
I have not. Flight
So when
93.
I
No, I
went
have not.
Yeah, so when I went in 8th grade, on our way back, we stopped by there.
Okay.
And if it wasn't for the passengers, coming together, that plane would have hit the Pentagon.
Yeah, or somewhere else. Who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know what the target was. I don't know what that final target was. We'll never
Yeah,
know
I
because
mean, a lot of people said it
of
was the
those
White
heroes
House.
on that plane. Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of people said it was the White House. A lot of people said it was the Capitol building.
yeah. Who
But
knows?
like you said, it could have been even more dangerous. It could have been even more damage than what happened. But
Yeah,
just like we said, for those, every single person on Flight 93 is a hero.
yeah,
That's the way I
yeah.
look at it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
they lost their lives, but they stopped it from they
Yeah,
stopped the attacks from being any worse than what they could have been. So
yeah. They took extreme action in a time
they
of,
did.
you really didn't know what was going to happen or what was going on at the
Yeah.
time, and yeah, they made a pretty tough decision to try to fight back, and yeah,
Yep.
obviously commend them for that. That's as heroic as it gets.
It is.
I thought it was pretty cool. In the days that kind of followed, how everything shut down. Everything, right? Like
Yep.
sports, everything shut down for a couple of days, and I thought it was really. It's like one of the last times I feel like our country was really truly together, like on the same side, no matter
I agree.
what, no matter
I would have to
your
agree.
political affiliation or whatever you believe in, whatever candidate you want to vote for, whatever. We used to be able to get along and just not talk about these things as with as much vitriol as we do now.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool the way sports kind of brought everybody together. And it was one particular moment. Like I said, I was, very, I remember this very, very well. Like I said, I was 22 years old enough to remember and to feel and know what the impact was at the time. And the Braves were in New York playing the Mets. And I don't know if you've ever seen this clip or not, but
Is that when
watching
they
the game.
announced it? Is that when they announced they killed Osama bin Laden?
No. This was just
No,
a
not
couple
that
of days after the first game.
Okay.
The first game's after, right?
Yeah.
The Braves were in New York. They were playing the Mets, and it was a close game. And I think like the bottom of the 8th inning, it was maybe tied up, maybe 1-1. It was really close. Mike Piazza hit a bomb to center for the Mets to give them the lead. And I have never been happier as a Braves fan to root for the Mets. And it was just like, it almost makes me want to tear up now. Like I feel like I'm getting emotional about it now. It was just such an emotional moment. Like it was just like the city needed that, man. That was like, obviously that wasn't going to heal all the wounds, but man, it was like a huge first step, and it brought everyone together even more. And it just, I think even the Braves players were like, okay, that was pretty cool. I've heard Chipper talk about it, since, and I think everybody kind of had the same feeling with that was just destined to happen. That was really cool.
My favorite one, kind of like you said, I mean, obviously it happened a little bit online, but it was the one I just mentioned. I think it was the Mets were playing the Phillies, and they'd heard that, Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al Qaeda, had been killed.
Yeah.
And the whole place just starts erupting, and all the players just like freeze. They're all looking like, what happened?
Yeah.
And then they all see the video board and they all start, cheering and clapping. And it's like you said, sports did what sports are meant to do, and that's bring the world together and kind of just put everything behind you. And it was such a cool moment too.
Yeah, it's obviously it's terrible that we have to have a tragedy to feel that kind of togetherness. But again, I feel like it helped in the healing and kind of helped us move forward a little bit.
Sure.
Just those first couple days, it's like you were weary, you didn't know what to do. Like it just felt like, like I weary. It's just the best way I can describe it. It was very sad. It was just very like, it felt like a new day in America, and it wasn't.
And there's parts of me that's like, dude, like I wasn't alive for it, but I know some people like I've heard stories about people that were in New York City, and like, dude, they're like, I had to leave because like I couldn't stay there. Just too much stress, too much stuff going on. They're like, I just left. Like,
I mean the busiest, most bustling city in America, like the bastion of our culture. I mean, it's like the sign of American culture, and it obviously it shut everything down, but. Obviously a very sad day. And like I said, we just want to take a moment to remember those almost 3,000 people that lost their lives that day. And, we hope we never let their memories be forgotten or their legacy be forgotten. We always hope to carry that on. The best that we can.
Hope this never happens again either.
Obviously, we
hope and pray that.
Yeah, for sure. It was a bad day. It was a bad day. But, speaking of sports, bringing people together, I do want to move on. We do have some sports to talk about. And I guess we'll start in the NFL with the Browns. I don't know, Ben. I mean, I know people, I've seen Browns fans talking to Steelers fans online about how the Steelers, basically just kicked a bunch of field goals. But hey, a win is a win, is it not?
It is. And
win's a win.
As much
what the Browns did on Sunday was not a win, but
no, it was far from it. But as much as you want to say, oh, you guys played the Falcons, you guys didn't play a good team. They're in the NFL for a reason. Like every single one of those players is good for a reason. Like
got a pretty expensive quarterback too. I mean,
and the fact that we won without scoring a touchdown, like that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't win without scoring a touchdown.
I think instead of making people feel better in the AFC North, the Bengals, Ravens, and Browns, I feel like that's terrifying, honestly. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
that's terrifying. The Steelers just played like an absolute warm pile of garbage, like everyone else in the division did, but they won. Right? Like, they won. And Justin Fields didn't look bad, by the way.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
No.
And I saw a clip of Big Ben, and he's like, you didn't ask Justin Fields to go out there and, need to throw for, 400 yards for you and 4 touchdowns and run for another 2 touchdowns. He's like, you just needed him to control the game, not turn the ball over. And he's like, your defense was going to make plays.
Yeah. Don't turn the ball over and get first downs. I mean, it sounds oversimplified, but I mean, that's really all you're trying to do at that point.
And I saw I saw people were still, going at Arthur Smith like, oh, Pittsburgh still won't target the middle of the field. Atlanta has two of the best safeties in football,
Yeah.
and Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
natural. Yeah. You're going to stay outside. Yeah.
let's throw the ball down the middle of the field to two of the best safeties in football. It sounds like a smart idea.
Right. You might as well punt on second down. I mean, what?
Yeah. Right. But I do want to say, though, props to Chris Boswell. A punter gets hurt, comes in and delivers a clutch 43-yard punt. Like, that was never punted before in his career and just drops a dime.
Yeah. And people will underestimate how important that is and how actually kind of amazing that is that you're able to step up and do that at that time. That's pretty cool. I do want to move. We got to talk about the Browns, I guess. We have to. Listen, they lost 33-17 to the Cowboys. Ben, did you watch any of this game? It never felt
I watched the whole game.
Okay. It never felt like a two-score game at any point.
Nope, it didn't.
It almost felt from the opening kickoff, at least from the first couple of snaps, when the Browns couldn't get out of their way on offense. I don't know how many penalties there were. At least 5,000. It felt like 5,000 penalties. It felt like pretty much from the beginning it was 35-0 Cowboys. Like it just.
I have to agree. And if you're a Browns fan, even if your offensive line gets healthy, right?
Yeah.
There was times when Deshaun Watson had a clear pocket and still rolled out. Deshaun Watson was sacked 6 times.
Yeah.
And PFF, Pro Football Focus, that grades offensive line and grades the games, did not give a single sack to the Browns offensive line. They said all 6 sacks were Deshaun Watson's fault.
Yeah. So besides the fact that the offensive line was a disaster penalty wise, like you said, you're getting Jack Conklin back soon. You're going to get Jedrick Wills back. The problem is you've still got Deshaun Watson back there taking the snaps, and he looks absolutely lost, right? I mean, he doesn't look like he knows how to play football anymore. There were so many wide open throws that he missed. And I know there were some drops, but there were so many wide open throws that he missed on Sunday. And it's inexcusable to make that much money, right? To control that much of a stake of a franchise's future. And it looks like the effort isn't even being put in. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. But
I'd have to agree with you, but I also think it's as much as people like Kevin Stefanski, I think it's just as much on him because he doesn't play his starters in the preseason.
Yeah. I mean, how do you expect to get going? Yeah. I don't know. Listen, people, we're like expecting the Browns to do something on Sunday, and I don't know why. Because of what you just said. They haven't had an opportunity to play together as a unit at all in the preseason. None of it. Nothing. It hasn't, not one snap. I don't know why you expected them to suddenly come out, on national TV. Hey, by the way, we'll get to the good, bad, and the ugly in this in a moment. But I did want to say Tom Brady's broadcasting debut, I didn't think he did a bad job, right?
I didn't either. And
I thought he did fine.
I saw people going at him about the whole stuttering and all that, dude. It's like, dude, you go out there in front of however many people are watching on TV.
Yeah.
And you call your first ever game after retiring and see if you stutter.
And it's not just sitting and watching football. You've got a producer in your ear the entire time. They're telling you how long you've got until break, how long until this. Don't do that. Mention this. Remember this graphic. Hey, we've got this show coming up tomorrow. You've got to do all this stuff. You've got to be talking football and listening to your producer and doing the things, hitting all the network stuff that you're supposed to hit.
Yeah.
You've got to do all that stuff. It's not easy. I thought he did a great job.
Oh, I did too. And I like that. Like, that's what makes announcing so hard. Like,
yes.
I mean, like announcing something I wanted to do, since I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
And like the more and more I got into it, the more I'm like, okay, like this is hard. Like if I really want to do it, like I'll go for it. But like that's why I've come to do sports talk shows because I don't really have to watch a game. I don't have to process a game. I can watch highlights, talk about it after. Yeah. But it's like you said, you look at Tom Brady. You see, he's having to process what's going on. He's having to listen to the producer. He's having to get through all of his talk reads. He's having to.
Meanwhile,
his happening in game.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got the play-by-play. They're asking you questions. I mean, you've got to listen to everybody. You've got to listen to everything going on. It's tough. It can be tough.
It is.
You can kind of start to zone out and just tune it out after a while.
I think it only comes with experience. He'll only get better as the more he commentates. That's how it goes. The more he commentates, the better he's going to get.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's a cool trivia thing in Browns history, right? You can look back and be like, hey, Tom Brady's first game as a broadcaster was Browns Cowboys, right? That's kind of cool.
Yep, that's kind of cool.
As I've gotten older, I've become more and more of a Tom Brady fan. That's not that I never really liked the Patriots, but I can't hate a guy for winning. I'm not going to hate a team or a guy for winning or whatever.
That's kind of what like like when I was younger and the Warriors were on that run, I was like, dude, I hate Steph Curry, I hate Klay
Yeah.
Thompson, I hate
But
Draymond
it's
Green.
sports hate. Yeah.
Yeah, and now that I'm getting older and I'm looking back on it, dude, I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, like he changed the game of basketball forever.
You can appreciate it for what it was. And it was,
And
yeah.
like same with Tom Brady. Besides that one cheating scandal with Tom Brady with the whole Deflategate thing,
Yeah.
that dude was a winner. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he had the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick as well. But like that
As
dude,
far as
all
cheating
that dude did
scandals
was
go, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. I just said, I mean, when you have the greatest quarterback and the greatest coach ever, I mean, magic's gonna happen.
Yeah, good
I
things
mean,
are going to
like,
be. Yeah.
like,
Good things are
like,
going to be on the horizon.
yeah, like look with Pittsburgh too. Like at the start of Big Ben's career, I mean, we won 2 Super Bowls with Mike Tomlin. Like,
Yeah.
didn't get it at the end of his career, but
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I think that's. I thought you did a great job. I want to move on though. Like I said, we want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly from Sunday's game, right? I know you're not a Browns fan, but you have to admit that the good for the Browns is that the Bengals and the Ravens are also 0-1, right? The division didn't start out
Yeah.
on fire. It's not like the Browns are immediately in a hole where everybody's 3-0 and they're 0 or 3-0. What? How would that happen? Everyone's 1-0 and they're 0-1, right? That seems like a bigger hole to climb out of. We talked about it before the show. I think it should maybe terrify people, or we talked about it on the show too. It should terrify people, I think, that the Steelers won without kicking a field goal. I think that, or without scoring a touchdown. I think that's wild. I guess we did briefly mention that on the show as well. But I don't know. That makes me feel uneasy because I've already told you, I expect the Browns to finish 4th in this division. They did nothing on Sunday to change my mind on that. If anything, that 8-9 might have turned into a 7-10 for me. I don't know. I mean, listen, here's the other thing. 4 of their next 5 games are on the road. Ben, you know how it went on the road for the Browns. It didn't go well on the road.
No, the Browns had the worst defense on the road last year.
Yeah. And they forgot things like how to tackle. They just couldn't tackle on the road. They didn't do a good job of wrapping up and getting people on the ground on the road. I don't know why, but they didn't.
And people are talking about, the whole debate between Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. I mean, 2 of the best players in football. I mean, I don't care where you look at it. I mean, they're interchangeable 1 and 2. There's no clear-cut winner.
No, they're really good. They're both really good.
If you look at the 2 games, you put them side by side. I'm not saying I'm a Steelers fan, but TJ Watt had the more dominant game. He had a fumble recovery.
Yeah.
He had a sack in the game. Should have had 2 strip sacks. They were both called back.
Okay, here's the difference for me. When I look at the Steelers and TJ Watt, and I look at the Browns and Myles Garrett, and this isn't meant to be a knock on either player. I feel like I always watch Steelers highlights where TJ Watt has made an enormous play somewhere down the stretch to change the game, right? To either, on 3rd and long, he gets a sack or he picks up knocks down a pass to the line, whatever, right? He just makes a play, goes out, makes a play. I feel like Myles Garrett accumulates stats during the game. And when they need a play, it's like he's got nothing left in the tank. And I don't necessarily understand that, right? Like I get it. You're a high effort guy, but he takes a lot of plays off, right? During a game. I mean, you see a lot of games where you're just like, hey, Garrett's not okay. Myles isn't out. That's weird, right? Like he's on the sidelines. Okay. And he's on the sidelines for 5 or 6 plays in a row. And I'm like, okay, I get it. He's a big guy. He's going hard or whatever. But man, I don't feel like I ever see TJ Watt take that long of a time off.
No. I don't
know.
I mean, like you said, it's not a knock either one of them, but people say, "Oh, you just say TJ Watt's better because you're a Steelers fan." No, yes, they play.
I feel like he's a little bit more of a difference maker. I really do.
Yeah,
I do.
I tell people, you don't see Myles Garrett jumping up at the line and intercepting a pass. TJ Watt's done it every single year of his career. Yeah. Every year of his career. Look at the Rams game last year. Couldn't get anything going in the pass rush game. So they start driving back in the coverage. Dude gets a pick and almost runs it back for a touchdown and changes the whole momentum of the game.
Myles Garrett is a phenomenal. He's a freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete. He's a freak of nature.
But TJ Watt is he's a stud football player. I think there's a difference, right? Like he's got a nose for making plays.
Yeah.
Right? Where Myles Garrett is big, he's physical, he's strong, he's intimidating, he's fast. He's got the physical skills to get around you, to get by you, to get through you. But TJ Watt just knows how to get his nose in there, and he just always seems to make a play. I don't know. Yep. Maybe it's like, maybe to me, it's like I'm a Browns fan. The grass is a little bit greener on the other side of the fence or whatever. But I feel like a lot of Steelers fans would feel that way as well. But let's get to the bad, because we talked about the good. Like I said, the Bengals and the Ravens are also 0-1 in that division. The Browns don't have a huge hole to climb out of necessarily. But the bad, I think it's pretty easy to pick out that it was the Browns, right? Like it was the Browns. All around. The defensive backfield looked lost, awful.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that if you could fix one area, I don't necessarily know that it would have equaled a win. Like if you'd say, okay, well, if the offensive line hadn't done this, they'd be fine. No, because Deshaun still missed on numerous throws, right? And just like you said, got sacked on his own accord, just took off out of the pocket when there was no need to take off and ran into a sack. It just shows you he doesn't really have the feel for what's going on right now. And I think, speaking of that offensive line and quarterback play, we'll get to the ugly, which is just also the Browns. It was really bad. Listen, it's week 1. Maybe it's a little bit of an overreaction to say that they stink or whatever. I'm not going to say that. But it didn't get off to a good start. Like I said, they've got 4 of their next 5 games on the road. They've struggled mightily on the road. At least last year they did. Most of the same rosters here. I don't see.
If they go into Jacksonville and it's the same story, then you got to start questioning and having people's heads are going to start turning, saying, okay, do we make a change? Do we do something here?
They can't.
What do we do?
They can't. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? That's the thing.
That's the thing. You can't, though.
You can't.
Because you're obligated to pay
you're stuck with Darius Stefanski for the foreseeable future. Sorry.
Yep. And you're stuck with Watson, too.
Well, maybe not. We don't have to get into the reasons why on the show, but there are things that have popped up in the last couple of days, and I've seen already on social media that the Browns are possibly,
but
people suspect that the Browns maybe are leaking this information so they can try to get that contract voided because it looks like it's headed south.
Here's the thing, though.
I don't know.
Hot take. I think the Browns are better with Jameis Winston.
Maybe. Listen, maybe.
Truly think that.
Yeah, I think Jameis Winston has gotten to the point in his career where he's a little bit more mature. He's still going to throw some picks. It's who he is. He's a little bit of a gunslinger, right? Yeah. But he's also not afraid to sit in the pocket, or not sit in the pocket because that's not helpful. But he's not afraid to stand in the pocket and make a play, right? Like he's just not afraid to, like a TJ Watt, is not afraid to put his nose in there and make a little bit of a play. And he's also a great guy. Listen, he brings those guys together. You've heard all the stuff. You've heard him mic'd up. He's great.
Yeah, he is. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I've also told people, I said, I think the perfect quarterback for this roster would be the guy that's sitting in Tampa Bay throwing 4 touchdowns.
Listen, you're gonna make Ken Carman yell at you. Ken Carman's gonna yell at you. You can't say that. He's gonna yell. Did you hear that?
No, I did not.
I tried to compare Baker's, his quarterback rating with Deshaun Watson's quarterback rating, and it was like the first call in the morning, right, on the Ken Carman show with Anthony Lima on 92.3 The Fan. If you get a chance to listen to it, you can listen on your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. Anyway, sorry, I listen to that station too much, obviously, but it was really funny. He didn't pick it up well when the fellow was on the line comparing Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson. Ken Carman took it a little hard.
I'm just saying, you look at
can't go back. He's right. You can't go back now.
No, but you look at those 2 offenses though. You look at Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, 2 elite receivers.
Yeah.
Right? You look at Cleveland, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy.
They've got the guys.
3 elite wide receivers.
Yeah.
The only difference, the quarterback.
Yeah. Before we move on, you brought up Jeudy and Amari Cooper. Where are my numbers? Those 2 combined for 5 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown on Sunday.
That has to be
That's
more.
Not acceptable. Has to
be more.
Cut it. Yeah, it's not gonna cut it. That electrifying duo. The Browns have a lot of problems to fix. It's gonna have to happen pretty quickly. Like we said, they've got 4 of their next 5 games on the road. They don't play well on the road. Hasn't gone well in the past. I don't see that changing soon. You could be looking at I don't even want to say it. I mean, I don't even want to say it. You could be looking at 2-4, 1-5 start here.
I've seen people say, "Oh, wait till Nick Chubb comes back." That's not going to make a difference. I'm sorry.
It's going to be too late. By the way, Jacksonville next week has a pretty good defensive line as well. They don't have a Micah Parsons. They don't have a TJ Watt. They don't have one of those guys, but they've got a really solid defensive line. They're pretty deep. They do a pretty good job of getting to the quarterback. So, I mean, you got to wonder, did the Browns have to change their philosophy? Are Conklin and Will, are they going to be back next week? I don't even know when they're going to play. Is it just like a quick screen and get the ball out quick game?
because it might be the only passes Deshaun Watson can complete.
Well, he missed on a lot of slants, Ben, and honestly, it puts more pressure on him, I think, to get a pass out quick because now you've really got to be accurate because you're in a smaller space with more defenders. I don't know.
Maybe he can just call hike, run out to the receiver, hand him the ball, and then let the receiver do the work. Maybe
just let the running game eat, man. I love it, right? Just run the ball all over the field. I love it, man.
You
have a score prediction, by the way? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, just tell the receivers to stand there, have the whole offensive line go that way. Deshaun Watson calls hike, runs over, gives the receiver the ball, and just lets him run. That should be their game plan.
Can we get Kevin Stefanski on here right now? Can we pitch this?
I think I have a genius decision, a genius idea.
I'm for it, man. Anyway, that's next Sunday. That's 1 p.m. Listen, Ben, give me a score prediction for that game, and then we'll move on real quick.
48-0 Jaguars. I'm kidding.
48-0. Come on, man. I thought you were going to go 3-2.
No. I'll say 27-21 Jacksonville.
Okay. I went a little more of a spread. I think they're going to eat the Browns up. I think it's going to be 38-20. I really do. I think the Browns have issues. I think they have confidence issues. I don't think they're going to get it fixed next week. I don't think they're going to get it fixed with this quarterback.
Takes a while to get it fixed.
Yeah, they're not going to get it fixed with this quarterback. I want to move on to good football in Ohio. Yay, we have good football in Ohio.
OH!
Hey, Io! The Buckeyes took down Western Michigan, 56-0. First shutout since 2019. They shut out Cincinnati. My notes say 942-0, but I think it was 42-0. I think I missed a parenthesis.
Dang, how many touchdowns they score?
A ton. Yeah, they had a couple defensive, kick returns. Anyway, 42-0, not 942. That'd be memorable. I think I would remember that, but that's not what happened. The defense looked really good. They allowed under 100 yards. I don't remember the last time that happened for Ohio State. I'm not sure. Couldn't find that, honestly. Wasn't able to look that up. Obviously, Western Michigan isn't the strongest opponent, Ben. We know that, but I think the Buckeyes executed really well on both sides of the ball. Don't you?
Yeah, when Will Howard starts, what was it, like 13 of 13?
Yeah, at least 11 of 11 I know of.
Yeah, and Quinshon Judkins goes for over 100 yards. You have Jeremiah Smith going for over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. He just continues to make it look easy.
Fun fact for all of our viewers, Jeremiah Smith, they're cousins. Didn't know that till yesterday.
Yeah, I found that out too. I don't know how I didn't know that. I'm
sure
I've heard that at some point, but I just didn't remember.
I saw a clip of Geno Smith talking about him. He's like, yeah, my little cousin. I've been watching him since he was 10 years old. And I'm like, wait, what did he just say?
Yeah, like there the bloodlines are. That makes sense.
And then I looked it up, and yep, sure enough, they're cousins.
That's awesome. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson just really looked dangerous in the backfield. I don't know. Judkins was we were 9 times for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had like an 80-yard touchdown called back as well for a penalty. Or I don't know if it was 80 yards, but it was a long touchdown run.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
I don't know. How about Caleb Downs on defense?
Dude's a stud. Dude is a absolute stud.
It's been a long time since I've seen, maybe Mike Doss. It's been a long time since I've seen anything like it. You weren't even born when Mike Doss was.
Don't even know who that is.
Yeah, that's amazing. 3-time All-American for the Buckeyes. Look him up. He was amazing.
Okay. I take that back. I've heard of him, but I haven't seen him play. Like I've heard of him.
That's fair. That'd be like someone bringing up Jack Tatum to me. I know who Jack Tatum is, but I've never seen him play a live game in my life. I wasn't born. Mike Doss was an absolute stud. Caleb Downs is an absolute stud. The play diagnosis and the ability to just get to the play, get to the ball, and the closing speed is like, it's been a long time since I've seen something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, 100 out of 100. He's amazing.
Yeah, I saw that one play where Western Michigan was running to, obviously, there was the high camera. They were running this way. Yeah. Caleb Downs just shoots across from a safety spot and stops the guy short. And I'm like,
that's exactly the picture or the play that I have in my head right now. That's exactly what I'm picturing. It was that,
dude. The fact that
it reminded me of a video game. Like if a safety does that to you on a video game, you're like, that's not realistic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it happened.
But dude, he's what Ohio State needed to complete this defense.
Yeah, he's next level. They still could use. Listen, the linebackers look better. I still think they could use like I don't know, just like one of the classic Ohio State middle linebackers, right? Like a guy 6'4", 230 in the middle, 235, 240, whatever. But now you got to be able to move a little better. So maybe those classic middle linebackers don't really work in today's game because you got to pick up a slot receiver every once in a while.
Like I said at the beginning of the year, that'll be our weakest point is the linebackers.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, I think we have the best defense in the country.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, the linebackers look pretty good. I mean, I've
They
seen some
did,
pretty good
yeah.
sticks in there. But again, the Buckeyes haven't played the most highly thought of competition. We know that.
Hey, at least we
But
weren't
you still
Notre
have to
Dame.
execute.
You do. At least we weren't Notre Dame. At least we didn't lose to a MAC school. Just
Oof,
saying.
man. Yeah. Did you see the people were passing around Rudy wearing the Northern Illinois jacket? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was funny. That was pretty funny. So I guess we got to look at. We talked about Will Howard, 18 of 26 for 292 and a touchdown. He started off much better than that, and it was obvious they just took their foot off the gas a little bit. He could have put up huge numbers. Where are we at? Next up for the Buckeyes. I want to ask you a couple questions, and then we'll get to the Marshall game real quick.
Nope, not allowed to.
Not allowed to ask questions. I get it.
Nope.
So they play Marshall next week is at noon. It's back to a day game. I'm not sure why Western Michigan was a night game. If there was a scheduling thing there, I don't really know what happened, but who knows? I want to ask you, this Buckeye team seems to be, again, not by way of opponent, but by way of the eye test, right? The execution, it's there. They look really good. Are they for real?
I think they are, but it'll be what it's been the last 3 years when we had Stroud and Justin Fields. The defense has to be able to stop the good opponents.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, our offense can score with the best of them. But when your defense can't stop anybody, it's hard to score every single drive.
Yeah. Yeah. And we got to a point where we expected that from CJ Stroud, right? Yeah. And then unfairly from Kyle McCord.
Yeah. And then like that Michigan game, I think it was 2 years ago, the year after COVID.
Yeah.
Like Michigan scored like every single drive, and it was like because your defense is just exhausted because our offense couldn't score.
Yeah.
It's like when you play good defense, like your defense has to be good as well.
And at some point you can put some of that on the cheating scandal if you want to. But yeah, obviously when the offense can't keep the defense off the field, I mean, they're human. They're gonna be tired. They're gonna be exhausted during the game. It's hard to stop a running game, a big physical offensive line with a great running game like that.
Especially in the cold, the snow. Like that makes it a whole lot harder.
It's a tough ask. Yeah, absolutely.
It is. But okay, Oliver's question. Do you think they're for real?
They appear to be, and I think we'll find out a little more when they play Oregon. Although I don't know exactly what's going on with Oregon. Oregon is they've struggled with Idaho. They've struggled to start the season.
They have.
Yeah. So,
but it's because it's because they can't stop the run.
Yeah.
And what does Ohio State have?
Oof. They've got a two-headed monster in the backfield. That could be a nightmare for Oregon if they can't stop the run.
Talk about running the football. That guy from Boise State.
Yeah.
Did you see his stats in the first week?
No.
Dude,
I saw a couple highlights, but I didn't notice his.
He had like 269 yards, 4 touchdowns. And then last week against Oregon, he ran for like 169 and 2 touchdowns.
Man, how many carries?
I think the first game he had like 40.
Oof.
And I think against Oregon, I think he had 20.
Okay. All right. Making the case for CTE, I guess, Boise State. Like, maybe get the guy a break, man. Jeez. Okay, well, whatever. He's doing well.
Dude, he reminds me of like a young Jay Ajayi that went to Boise State.
Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah.
Like,
let me ask you this. I want to ask you a question. Okay. I was going to ask you, and I typed this in all caps because I started to type, can they beat Michigan? And I was like, what a weak question, right? Like pretty much any team at this level can beat any other, almost within reason. Okay. Obviously when you're this talented, you can beat anybody in the country if you're the Buckeyes, but it's not, can they beat Michigan? I want to ask you, will they beat Michigan this year on November 30th? Do they finally get over this hump?
Yes.
I think so too. We can talk about it in a minute. Michigan looked really bad against Texas, and we can briefly mention that in a minute. I don't want to spend any time. I didn't make a graphic because they're terrible. They might lose 4 games this year, maybe 5. I don't know. I have no idea. They can't move the ball. They're going to be in big trouble.
It might be more than that, dude. They can't move the ball. They can't run. Seems like they can't run the ball.
They seem to not have a quarterback at all.
No, and you just got absolutely throttled by Texas.
That's another game that never felt as close as 31-12. You know what I mean?
No.
It just never felt that close. It felt like it was a much bigger blowout than that. Well,
I do
anyway,
want to say
let's
though.
move on. What's that?
I do want to say though. Before we leave or before we move on,
Yes.
props to Quinn Ewers. Once a
Yes.
Buckeye, always a Buckeye.
Yeah, man. I always want the guys who come through here,
Still-
even if they just come through here for money. I don't care. You
Yeah.
were here for a minute. I want you to do well.
Still has that hatred for Michigan. I love it. I love it. I
And
love
listen,
it.
we're not saying before. I don't want to hear listen. You're going to comment. You're going to say, "Oh, he's not developed by." We know he's not developed by Ohio State. Okay, I know
No.
that. We're just saying hey, the guy was a Buckeye once. We're happy for him. He
Yeah.
played well. Plus, he beat Michigan.
Once
That's fun, right?
Once a Buckeye, always a. Once you're a Buckeye, I root for you for life.
Yeah, we have to do the sad thing where we live vicariously through other teams' victories against Michigan until we beat them again. So,
Yep.
I know that's pathetic, but sometimes you have to do it. At least I admit it. Anyway, score prediction. Saturday, noon, Marshall, the Thundering Herd comes in, right? They lost 31-14 to Virginia Tech. They're 1-1. They beat some, FCS team or whatever. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Okay, listen, this is interesting too. They both have bye weeks. Ohio State has a bye week, right? This coming week. So that is not this Saturday. I said it like it was. It's September 21st. They're both off on the 14th. I don't think it's going to help Marshall. What do you have for a score prediction on this one?
I'm gonna say 52-14.
Okay, you're right. Yeah,
I think Marshall's that team. Like they're not like a bad FBS team, right? Like they're not gonna come in there and completely lay an egg. They still got some decent athletes. Like I think they get a couple scores. Yeah. But I also think
they're
Ohio
good football. It's a good football program. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ohio State is the best offense in the country, so I think we just absolutely smack them.
And I think they're getting to the point where they're really efficient now, the Buckeyes. And I think the defense is good enough that you'll probably see. I think you're starting to see a little bit more if you're Ryan Day, kind of what you have. So I think the starters are maybe going to leave this game a little bit earlier than they have the first couple of games.
Yeah,
because now you've got some conference games. Well, you've got all conference games coming up, right? You've got some really big tests really soon. So I think you won't see the starters in as much. I still think they're going to score really efficiently. Some of that's going to be off the defense. I think, listen, does Brandon Ennis finally get a kick return touchdown for the Buckeyes this weekend? Does it feel like that's brewing?
It feels like it's brewing, but here's the thing. I don't think it'll be against one of these big teams in a key moment when we need it most.
Even better.
We're down. I just think that it's setting up for him to get one in a game against an Oregon or one of these big games where you're down a score late in the third quarter and you need some momentum. And he's going to score a kick return touchdown. The place is going to go nuts, and then we're just going to.
I'll probably go nuts. I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
But it's coming. It's coming soon. He's going to get one soon. He's so special back there returning the football. It's crazy.
He looks different. Yeah, he looks different. And you said 52-14. You're right in the same neighborhood. I said 59-13. I think it's going to be, a couple field goals and a touchdown they'll score. Like I said, I think you'll see Marshall put a couple drives together later in the game when you've got some backups in there. I think you might run some younger guys in at corner a little bit and just see what you can do in one-on-one matchups. And somebody's going to get burned eventually. Somebody's going to, a coverage will get blown. Something will happen. But yeah, 59-13, I think is a pretty good range for the score. I haven't looked at the line or the over-under on that yet, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of going off feel and, knowing what Virginia Tech basically kind of is. And whatever. 59-13 is what I say.
I lied. I got Marshall 9-0.
Okay, 9-0. I love these low scores. We're going back to the 60s, man. They're going to tie 9-9. So listen, Texas, we talked about Texas. They beat Michigan.
Yeah.
The Longhorns look legit. No?
They do.
Look really. And people were mad because Texas passed Ohio State in the polls. Who cares? I don't care. Do you care about that?
No.
Doesn't even matter anymore. Michigan does not look legit. They look like they could finish 7-5 and play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I don't know. I mean, it might be a long year in Ann Arbor. Sorry. Just saying. Might be a really long
I forget what game it was, but I can't remember if it was NFL or college, but a team had 2 safeties.
Oh, I didn't catch that at all.
I can't remember.
That's normally the kind of stuff that sticks out to me that catches my eye. It's weird. I didn't catch that.
I can't remember what game it was, but the team had 2 safeties, and I was like, because I was looking at the score, and I'm like, how'd they get to that score? And I'm looking at the stats, and there's no touchdowns. And I look at the play-by-play, and it says 2 safeties. I'm like,
isn't it funny when you've watched a sport so much that you're like, what's up with that score? When you know what I mean? When it's you come through, and it's 22-18 in a football game, and you're like, wait, what? How did we get here? Yeah, I think that's funny. That's not a knock on the Steelers kicking a bunch of field goals either.
No, I feel you.
That wasn't that. Listen, let's check in. You want to check in on our old friends, the Guardians? Remember the Guardians?
I do.
They're back in control of the AL Central, Ben. Did you know that?
Yes.
They are 3.5 games up, I think, or 3 games up on the Royals. Twins are 6 games back. It looks like I don't want to say they have the division or the situation under control, but they're right there. They're the 3rd best team in the American League record wise. They still can clinch home field advantage through the playoffs. And right now, what's the magic number? It's 10 for a playoff spot, right? And 15 to win the AL Central. At least, last night. I don't think any games have been played today that have been come to a final yet. So that's kind of where we are with the Guardians. You feeling better now? You feeling a little better? You said they weren't going to make the playoffs a couple weeks ago on the show. You feeling better now?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Take some Pepto and okay.
It's just they've won some. Like, they haven't won a lot of series, but like against the Dodgers, you win that one game against the Dodgers, and you're like, okay, we can beat the Dodgers, but it's like I would just like to see him be a little bit more consistent going to the end of the year.
Oh, by the way, speaking of the Dodgers, shout out to Freddie Freeman. His son was going through some health issues. He's back now. That was a pretty serious scare. Listen, Freddie Freeman is always going to be a lifelong favorite of mine. My daughter loves him from his time with the Braves. I'm not mad at him I don't care where he plays. He's a great guy, great family. I was obviously very, very happy to hear that his son is doing much better. He's home. Hope that continues to go positively. I just wanted to say that real quick. And back to the Guardians. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I 100% agree with you. I mean, that's always scary when a kid, one of your kids, goes through something like that, and it just shows you. It just shows you that, like, I saw all the former Braves players like reaching out to him, and it's like you saw, like, when he came back, you saw players checking up on him, and it's like that's just stuff like that just shows you like how good of a guy he truly is. Because he's one of those guys that I can't remember if it was him or Rizzo. It was when Rafael Iglesias played for the Rockies. He got a hit, was going through a tough time, and it was either Rizzo or Freeman gave him a hug and said, like, I'm here for you, man, if you need anything. Like, he's one of those guys that is always just super nice to everybody and just cares genuinely about the other players. Like, he doesn't seem like a single soul hates him.
No,
Seems like everybody in baseball loves him.
Yeah. I mean, he gets along. He's just that guy. And I know there were a lot of publicized things, that came out about he and Ronald Acuna Jr. not getting along. And I don't think that's what it was. I think it was just his certain leadership style just kind of clashed with Acuna's freedom a little bit, his sense of like kind of being a free spirit. And I don't think it was ever like a personal, like they got into arguments. I think it just, I don't know. I just think that maybe that being that free maybe rubbed Freeman in the wrong way a little bit when they were going through some tough times and not winning,
I feel you.
So I don't know. Who really knows what went on behind the scenes? I know they've clearly, more than made up. I mean, whatever they do it's none of my business. But yeah, I think Freddie Freeman is a great guy, great family. He's just top-notch human being. I don't really care about sports. I don't care where you play. I want your kids to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Doesn't matter who you are, who you play for. I want your kids to be okay. So that's important. But yeah, I feel like the Guardians, they've got you feeling a little better.
They do.
The pitching is still kind of falling apart. It's what I said. We talked about this back at the beginning of the season. I said, man, this pitching staff feels like it's put together with Band-Aids, and they're barely being held together. And it's true, but you've got the best closer in the game. That helps.
Yeah.
The bullpen's been very, very, very good. These are things that, listen, this is you still have to have starting pitching, but those were 2 ingredients that the Rangers used to win a World Series, right?
Yep.
But you've got to have the starting pitching. I mean, it really hurts to have a couple of the guys missing that they have. It's tough.
It does, but also, like you said, if you look at the Rangers, I mean, their only really like elite pitcher was Nathan Eovaldi.
Yeah.
So like, if you get to the playoffs and you got one guy that's elite, like, he can carry you in games 1, 4, and 7.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. What I was going to say to you, if you could pick a pitcher, I was going to ask you this last night. I didn't type this in my notes, but it popped into my head. If you could pick a pitcher from the Guardians, the Indians, whoever, their recent past. Okay. we don't have to go back to Bob Feller. But if you could add a starting pitcher to this team right now, I just wanted to ask you this. Would it be Corey Kluber? Okay. CC Sabathia or Shane Bieber? Or would you add Andrew Miller out of the bullpen of this team? They've already got a pretty strong bullpen.
No, I feel like you need a starter.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to go with Prime Kluber.
Okay.
That like 6-year
like
stretch when Kluber was like the best pitcher in baseball
Yeah.
and won 2 Cy Young awards. Like,
and don't forget about Montgomery on the Rangers, by the way. They had a couple of legit starting pitchers. Don't forget about him.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the other guy's name, but of all
I couldn't either. I blanked for a minute, but I just it popped up in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to. I was trying to look up CC Sabathia's playoff numbers because I don't know if you remember this. You would have been a little young. You would have been really young when he got traded to the Brewers. Do you remember that stretch of baseball that he went through?
Yeah, it was wild.
It was unbelievable. I mean, it was like watching the Little League World Series, right? He just kept it was amazing. It was fun to watch. I mean, he really brought the Brewers back from like oblivion and they made the playoffs. That was fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just feel like I don't know, if you could have prime CC Sabathia on this team, does he add a little bit? I mean, Kluber seemed to always kind of be out of gas by the time the playoffs came around. No knock on him, but it just seemed like maybe, the rigors of going through a 162 game season kind of took their toll on Corey Kluber a little bit. And by the time October came around, I don't know if it was, wear and tear, cold air, short hair, so many things that can rhyme. No, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but it just seemed that it didn't work in October for Kluber. I don't know. I'd pick CC Sabathia. I mean, I love Bieber. Bieber got off to a great start this year, but CC Sabathia was something to watch.
Yeah. I mean, but like I said, like, I don't know though, because there's a part of me that like wants to pick Andrew Miller, because if you look at what he did, like, you just needed your starter to get to the 5th inning, and you knew Miller was getting into the 8th.
Yeah,
he'd pitch 3 innings and get to the 8th inning, and you're like, dude,
he was so important to that run. I mean, he was almost the reason that they won a World Series.
Yeah, like my friend said, like if we win the World Series, there's a chance he wins World Series MVP.
Yeah, I think that would have been plausible. Sure, absolutely. But it wasn't meant to be. Sad.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
And even as a Braves fan, Ben, it really makes me sad. Like, I really was. That was probably the only time I really watched a baseball game, a playoff game that the Braves weren't involved in, where I was sitting actively yelling at my TV and that into. I really, really, really wanted Cleveland to win the World Series. You know what I mean? I really still do. They've got a great shot this year. They're one of the best teams in baseball. There's absolutely no reason they can't make a run, but they're going to need something from their starting pitching. You got to see something. That's going to be important. So listen, I think on that note, we're going to get out of here, man. Again, Browns, terrible. Steelers, slightly above average, but they got the win. Buckeyes, really good. I think the Buckeyes are going to be good. They'll have an off week this week, so college football will be a little bit different for me this Saturday. I won't care quite as much, but I still love watching college football. But
I don't really care much about college football when the Buckeyes aren't playing. But
it feels like a different kind of a week, right? I still watch, but it's like it's off. It's like everybody should be off, right? It's weird. It feels really weird.
And I want to say something too before we leave.
Of course.
There were 3 teams this week in the NFL that didn't score a touchdown.
Okay.
An offensive touchdown. 2 of those teams won. The only team that didn't was the New York Giants.
Okay. The Giants are in trouble. Wow. Speaking of teams that do not have a quarterback on the roster, the Giants could be in some real trouble.
Dude, they got Tommy DeVito. What
crazy.
Do you mean?
Did you see those?
Dude, I hate those uniforms. I don't like them.
Oh my gosh, there was a lot going on.
Ugly.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I like the throwbacks, but man, for me, I'll stick with the Tampa Bay orange creamsicle throwbacks. And I'll take the Chargers, powder blues, whatever.
The Steelers bumblebee jerseys.
Yeah, those are even cool. Those are cool. I feel like sometimes the Steelers should wear leather helmet. They should wear like leather replica helmets, right? With those,
right?
That'd be kind of cool. Didn't someone do that? Didn't someone have an alternate uniform where I almost said an alternate universe, Ben.
No, it was Illinois.
Have an alternate uniform where their helmet looked leather.
Yeah, it was Illinois.
It was Illinois. That's right. That's right. That's so cool. That's a cool throwback. That's really cool. I love what they can do with the helmets now. But like I said, we want to get out of here. I feel like the Guardians are going to wrap up the division soon. We don't need to stress about them too much. They look pretty good again. But listen, for now, thank you for watching the sports show with no name. Again, I'm your host. I'm Chad Bryan. Ben, I've got Ben Bales. Thank you so much for being with me and talking sports with me. And thank you to the viewers. We appreciate you. I've seen a lot of you popping in and out as we've been talking today. And we really, really appreciate that. We love having you around, and, just continue to like and subscribe and comment on things. We want to hear from you. We want to hear, do you think the Buckeyes are for real? Will they beat Michigan this year? What do you think? What's your opinion on that? Will the Browns ever win a game? Will they ever have a quarterback? Will the Browns ever get out of their own way?
0-16 again.
Burning, well, 0-17 maybe. They might set a new threshold for, let's not even, I don't even talk about it. They have enough talent on that roster. They should stumble into a couple wins. They're going to have to get something from the quarterback, though. They got to get something. He's got to do something. Do something, right? Do anything. And the Guardians, we think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to win the division anyway. I think they might make a deep playoff run, but we're going to have to see how their starting pitching is. It's all going to depend on where they're at starting pitching wise, matchup wise, and health wise when the playoffs start. We'll get to that. I will make my way too early playoff prediction for the World Series teams and the winner when the playoffs are actually settled. I like to do that every year. I was really close last year. I said the Rangers would beat the Phillies in 7, I think, and the Rangers beat the Diamondbacks, who beat the Phillies in that previous year. I was really, really close last year. So we'll try that again this year and see how close I can come or how far.
You also said Purdue was going to win it all too, but just saying.
I did say that. Yeah, we got to mention that. If you mention how close I come on the predictions, you have to mention that I said Purdue was going to win the national title, and they immediately got beat by a 16 seed. Not only beat, they got embarrassed by a 16 seed. So there's also that. There's also the other side of those picks. That happens. But yeah, thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. Next week on the show, we're going to talk about probably how bad the Browns played again. We'll compare a little bit more of the AFC North. I mean, we'll have a little bit more of an idea. Like, some teams are probably going to be 1-1 at some point. I expect the Browns to be 0-2. I know you don't like to hear that, but that's what it is. The Buckeyes will still be 2-0. I don't think they'll lose on the bye week. See what happens. But yeah, next week on the show, we'll get into some of that. And I don't know if maybe you guys can tell us. If you comment on this video, tell us what you want us to talk about next week. We'll talk about it. Even if it doesn't even make sense, just say something ridiculous and we'll talk about it as long as it's appropriate. That could be kind of fun if we just had a completely random topic next week. So make sure to do that if you're watching. And until then, again, thank you. And we'll see you next week on the Sports Show with No Name, or Come On Ref, or the Sports Show with No Ref, or Come On Ref, where's the Sports Show? We don't know what it's going to be called or what we're going to be doing, but we'll see you next week for sure. And thanks again. Bye, guys.